You're welcome back. This is the Crossfire. My name is Agayin Ishama, and I have Barr Julius Ayoola in the studio, and he'll be doing so much justice to the discussion. Well, as you also know, I'm sure a lot of Nigerians do not also know that you're the principal partner, rather,
Yes.
of Ayoola Julius and Co. Thank you for joining us on the program.
Thank you so much, Shoma. Thank you.
Now, before I take your opinion on some of the stories which I did read out, I would like your thoughts and opinion on independent candidature. I know, yes, 2018 is around the corner, so 2018, basically, the campaign and the politicking will begin in earnest against 2019. But as it is right now, yes, statements, clamors, are coming from all quarters, even from some members, honorable members, in the legislative arm saying independent candidature needs to be recognized. That it will be a way of helping to address some of the overbearing, corruption issues and drain pipe, in our political party system. What do you think about independent candidates? Is it feasible in Africa, Nigeria, to be specific?
Well, I like the cap you gave to whether it is feasible. It's a very good thing to talk of independent candidacy. It helps to deepen democracy. Because it is now, Nigerians don't really have a choice. They are left to pick either from APC or PDP.
Or the many other parties that
Look,
exist.
those other parties are not very strong. We do respect to them.
But then they also have a lot of people who subscribe to them, to their ideology.
That's the beauty of democracy. The more, the merrier. People should be given the opportunity. If I can't get a ticket in Party A, I should be able to sell myself. That is the idea. Because you find that in all these parties, the cost that you will incur in procuring the form alone is humongous. With the godfather that you have to go and meet, somebody has to endorse you. But once you allow people to go, as independent candidates, what you end up doing is that you end up, entrenching democracy. So for me, it is not about whether it is feasible. It's about getting it started. Of course, you can't get it perfect in one day, but as we make progress, people will get to understand that, look, you don't have to be in a party to deliver a particular electoral promises to my constituency, because at the end of the day, the independent candidate will be representing a particular constituency. And he might have, what you call a first-hand understanding of the constituency that is representing whether or not it's in a political party. The parties are very big. They have big manifestos. What we have seen played out in our country is high time we let people go seek, public offices as independent candidates, because for me, it will be a lot cheaper. With social media, the campaign will be easier too for them to do compared to when you have to go to these other parties. Sometimes they'll tell you have to be on the queue. Be on the queue because you just joined us recently. They care less whether you have something good to offer. They don't care whether the person, according to them, who's on the queue is a mechanic. They care less. We have seen constituencies where councillors are mechanics, vulcanizers, because they are very loyal to the ward chairman or the local government chairman. They are made councillors and they go there and just, they behave like solo dancers because they have nothing to offer. So for me, independent candidacy is the way to go. But I know the law presently has not really, provided that opportunity. But if we are really serious about, democracy, we should allow it. It's allowed in other climes. In Ghana, you can contest as an independent candidate. So how come Nigeria is not keen to independent candidacy?
Okay, well, we'll see how that plays. And the Nigerians, of course, I actually did some sample opinions over the week, and a lot of press, surprisingly, were speaking in favor. So we also hope, some development comes in that regard as we build up to 2019. So yes, so the main focus. The President Muhammadu Buhari is expected to attend the Counterterrorism Summit from tomorrow and Sunday in Jordan. And then it's basically to review strategies in fighting terrorism and reinforce the joint practice security structures and all of that. Now, do you think anything concrete will come out of the summit? Because it's one thing to attend a summit, it's one thing for deliberations to be made, it's another thing to sign declarations, but it's another thing to enforce them when you get back home.
Well, for me, when it comes to security issues, you can say you are doing too much. There is no disadvantage in, appreciating as many forums you can attend that will ensure that you have a good understanding of counterterrorism. But from my understanding of international law, you don't fight counterterrorism by attending all these seminars. Because what you find in terrorism is that you don't have the regular enemy combatant that you want to fight. They are faceless people. Sometimes they are highly itinerant. They move from one place to another in a manner that is not suspicious. So for me, in fighting terrorism, what we need to do is to create a system where people can be given sufficient orientation that, look, if you die for nothing. There's no 100 virgins anywhere. You'll be shocked that in some part of Nigeria, people still have that belief that whatever it is, if I go do it, I'm assured that 100 women are waiting for me in heaven. What will motivate people to think that way is illiteracy. So government to fight terrorism needs to...
religious indoctrination.
Look, even if you say religious indoctrination, you will only be allowed to say that where the person you are trying to, I would say hoodwink, because there is no religion that preaches violence, okay? Where there is no education, people will be hoodwinking to any belief, and it is the job of our society, of our government, to ensure that people are de-radicalized. And how do you do it? That's the job of the National Orientation Agency. They are too quiet. They feel the only time they have to talk to us in Nigeria is when there are elections. They tell us no violence. No, it should be an ongoing thing.
Well, the campaign on Change Begins With Me, has been going on.
The campaign for what?
Change Begins With Me.
That's not what I'm talking about. We're talking about terrorism. The people that are involved in terrorism sometimes are victims themselves. They are victims such that they will tell them, you are going to so-so mosque. They have no will of their own. Even if they don't want to do it, they have strapped this bomb around to their bodies, and they have no choice than to go do it. So the point for me is that terrorism can be fought with using guns, but you won't have the ultimate result. What will give you the ultimate result is when you provide for the people in terms of welfare. People will tell you, what is the point living? I don't even have shelter. I don't even have education. Let me go and die. And I don't care if people who die with me are innocent. But when people have the opportunity to rationalize that, what's the point of dying? Whatever I want, I can get it. All I have to do is to keep myself into the system. Okay? So there must be massive campaign on the need to get people, de-radicalized. And you must start from the mosque. As far as terrorism is concerned in the north,
the church also.
You must start from the mosque and the church. These two institutions are key institutions. They must disemphasize the idea of prosperity or going to heaven. Look, we are going to go to heaven if the Bible or the Quran says so. But for now, we are here. And because
let's make earth our own heaven.
Let us enjoy this place, And to enjoy this place, you have to put certain things into place. What you call social infrastructures. You must have sufficient social infrastructure that will encourage people to think of getting empowered, as against thinking of going to heaven to have 100 virgins as wives. Okay, that's what.
Okay, now, because why this story is really pertinent for me, I'm looking at it, I'm trying to understand it from a different angle. Now, on Tuesday, the Chief of Army Staff, Lieutenant General Tukur Buratai, said, according to the Nigerian Army, they were doing so much in winning the ground war. But what was remaining basically was for stakeholders, talking about the political class and intelligence community, to take up salient aspects of the war, to the insurgents, that's in winning it completely. Now, according to him, he said, the Nigerian police force must be fully on ground in all the states in the Northeast. Civil administration must be fully reestablished in the local government areas, for activities. And then the civil authorities must fight the ideological, social, and propaganda wars. And then looking at all this, which you talked about, they're beautiful, they're true. But then somehow, the bulk of this stops at the table of the government. How? The Nigerian police force. It has been established that Nigeria is under-policed. And if you're going to deploy the bulk of what we have left in the Nigerian police force to the, Northeast,
yes.
What will happen to the other parts of the country? So ideally, Nigerians expected that from 2015 to now, we should have had triple the number of what we had in the police force. You will respond to that. And then on the issue of civil administration, come on, yes, we know that still stops at the bulk of the states.
Yeah.
Because we still have states functioning. And then the issue of fighting this, ideological, social, and propaganda wars, Nigerians are still asking. Since 2015 till now, we are yet to see individuals persecuted, individuals either in the political class, religious class, or whatever class, who have had a hand in financing terrorism in Nigeria. So don't you think the government itself is not doing as much? It's rather playing political game with this whole scenario.
Okay, let me start with the police. There is no country in the world where the police can be 100%. There's no country in the world where the police can say...
Where you should get an appreciative number.
Yes. What I'm trying to say is that even if you have Nigeria reduced to a policeman to 10 people, currently I think we're about a policeman to about 35,000 people, it will still work. People must be responsible to their society. As we speak now, Nigerians do not trust the police. People do not trust what do you call it? They don't have the confidence in giving information to the police because they feel that if I give this information, I may lose my life in the process. Until people would engender a society where you can have what you call witness protection law, so that people can give information and thereafter they are assured that when I give that information, nothing is going to happen to me, not because the state government says so or the president says so, but because there is a law under which I can be protected, witness protection law. In the US, they have witness protection program that once you give evidence in vital, cases that will lead to serious convictions, the state at that point knows that the witness can be a target. In Nigeria, we don't have such a situation. As you are giving the information, possibly the policeman is calling the person you are reporting to say, look, somebody was there. I mean, do you have any issue with him? Such a system will not, encourage us to fight terrorism. Okay? And what would make the policeman or the policewoman to give out the person that supplied information is poverty. People feel that if I'm as a policeman, if I'm loyal to a particular politician, maybe I get transferred to a nice place, maybe I get promoted. At the end of the day,
there could be other issues
aside
poverty.
What if I treat this issue and I get a phone call telling me, why are you treating that petition? So the absence of job security and malicious transfer, even in our establishment, sometimes play a major role, in our attempt to reduce crime or fight terrorism. I agree that people should be recruited into the police force, but currently, you don't recruit people into the police force because they can't find jobs. If you recruit them because they can't find jobs, when they go into the police force, they become criminals themselves.
But do you know also, there are a lot of Nigerians who are patriotic enough for this country and would also want to join the security forces, but because they know there is so much nepotism.
Let me tell you why a good number
many of them are at a disadvantage. In fact, many of them do not even want to go in. The issue...
Because I have a lawyer...
That somehow vitiates that point.
I have a lawyer in my office that applied to become a member of the EFCC. I think he passed all the entrance exams, then he went to Kaduna because his name was published. He was told in Kaduna why he came to Kaduna. They asked him, why did you come? He said, because my name is on the list. Your name is on the list. Any letter from anybody that is serious in your community? He said, no letter, but I am a lawyer and I passed the entrance exam. He told him to wait outside. After 4 hours, somebody came to advise him, you better go back to wherever you came from because the list is already made up. Okay? Wow. So even if people who are intelligent, people who have the right training, right education, want to join any of our security agencies, they still need to get a letter from someone. Sometimes you see the form that we fill in some of our establishments, a letter from the Oba of your town, a letter from maybe somebody who's a general or something. Where do I get all these things from? So it means that people who do not have close affinity with their Oba may end up not getting the letter. And the
even though they're qualified, even though they're patriotic.
Yes. The Oba can say, oh, I've given about 15 people letters, I'm tired of writing letters. If I don't know a general or a lieutenant colonel that will sign on my form, I begin to approach barracks to see whether I'll get someone to sign for me. In the end, what happens? I'm exposed to corruption. Yeah. So the point for us is we must remove every incident of corruption, even in our application forms. You get what I'm saying? People do not need to know people before they serve their country.
Now this paints that the entire Nigerian system is webbed in corruption.
Yes.
And it seems,
if any society where poverty is high, there will be corruption. It's just normal. Because people will struggle to survive, and they will do anything to survive. Nigeria does not have a decent reward system for people who serve the country. You see our pensioners on the queue. Sometimes they die. So those who are watching those on the queue say to themselves, is this what I will become if I am honest in this job? Because the people you see on the queue with pension issues are those people who possibly were honest when they were serving Nigeria. Their colleagues who stole the country dry don't come to the queue. So those who are serving Nigeria now have given themselves a particular poser. What will become of me if I leave service? Will Nigeria remember I worked there for 35 years? The answer is no. Because at the time of your retirement, they'll be asking you to produce your letter of appointment, your letter of promotion, and go and do biometric capturing. Are you saying that for serving you for 35 years, I still need to introduce myself to you? So some people end up paying to get their files tidied up because they can't find some of these things you are asking them. You don't even know, Nigeria does not have a history of people who have served them before. I've seen people come to my office for affidavit for notary public. I ask them, what do you need it for? They will say, we are processing our daddy's pension and they need to do affidavit. Your daddy worked where? Railway for how many years? For 35 years. So what document are they looking for? They need to put it in his file. Which file? So you mean in our country, people will serve our country and won't be able to pull up data about them unless they go fetch it themselves. And when they cannot fetch it, they lose their pension. That is very bad. So when you have such a system, there will be corruption because there is no reward system. So you have to reward yourself while you're serving your country.
No, I know in advanced climes, of course, it was a gradual process.
Yes.
There were ones at the levels we were, but then efforts, collective efforts from the populace also made them...
Which of the countries? I don't know.
Well, say for example, the United States of America,
Yes.
Canada and the rest of the
Yes.
class action suits.
They never experienced what we experienced.
Oh, of course. I mean,
Nigeria
America is well over 200 years.
We should stop saying
At some point in their history, in their development.
Do we have to be 200 years to get to where we are going?
But at some point,
Yes.
they had these challenges, they had these problems. And what they did was to find solutions pertinent to them. Now, in Nigeria, oftentimes, I mean, we see class action suits come up, compelling the government to take certain routes. Yes, in some cases, they have resulted, they have produced positive results. In other cases, those cases are still pending. Now, is the judiciary helping to ensure that Nigeria is corruption-free? Is the judiciary helping sufficiently to see that we have the Nigeria which future generations will be proud of? As a lawyer, judging from the kind of cases you have taken to court and then the reaction you have gotten from the court. Sounds like a tough question.
That's a tough question, and I need to be careful in, answering that question. The judiciary in Nigeria is not doing badly. The Nigerian judiciary is overwhelmed with cases, and sometimes the cases are frivolous. But then, the reason why anyone would say we are not doing fantastically well is because even all our judges, only a few, I mean, I'm not being categorical here, only a few can say, I got a job on merit. So a system that produces judges that are appointed based on a politician will not give you a decent decision. Look at the case of, okay, let me not mention the case. Okay? If appointments into judicial positions are based on a list formula, oh, this list is from the Oba of my town, that list is from that senator, you can't get justice. Because the judge...
But that happens oftentimes.
It happens oftentimes because the people running our country are people who do not love our country. That's why we are really pushing for independent candidacy. Let us bring in people who are decent ordinarily, people who have administrative acumen to run any formal setting. What we have in Nigeria now is that we are running this country with people who are not seasoned. Look at what is playing out in the hearing of the Maina Gate. It's an embarrassment to Nigeria, without prejudice to the committee. What we have seen play out is that we don't have finis. It's either our civil servants do not have the finis, or they don't even know the law that regulates them, or they know the law but they care less. Because the point is that somebody said, oh, Maina has been paid salaries, and that person is the chief law officer of Nigeria. Somebody came and said, I'm the Minister of Finance. I'm the Auditor General. No kobo has moved from government coffers, as far as we know, to Mr. Maina since 2013 when he was dismissed from service.
But
somebody said
no, he
that he has been paid.
But he challenged that dismissal in court. No, I want us to go there now, because now that you brought it up and they were talking about corruption. Now,
yes,
he was purportedly dismissed, but on two counts, the courts overruled and said, no, he is still validly by law, in the eyes of the law, a civil servant. So now seeing all this play out, what signal does this send to you?
In the judgment that he is relying on, there is no mandatory order. Yes, compelling the Federal Civil Service Commission to reinstate him. He went for declaratory reliefs.
Of course.
Declaratory reliefs by themselves are not enforceable.
Okay.
There must be an order of the court compelling, mandating and directing the Federal Civil Service Commission to have him reinstated. That was what played out in Shitabi and Federal Civil Service Commission, Laoyi and Federal Civil Service. Yes, these are the things that played out. You can't just go get declaratory release by asking the court question whether, if I was dismissed without a panel properly set up, was my dismissal valid?
Valid or not?
Yes, the court will tell you it's not valid, but that does not take away all the speckles from you. It doesn't mean you are you are blameless. You may still have your faults. You may still be blameworthy, but the procedure in arriving at your blameworthiness is what the court has said that, look, this procedure is not tidy. And to that extent, there could not have been a proper dismissal. And that goes back to what I just mentioned earlier, which is that the people running the system do not have the understanding of the law that they are running. They don't even read it. Most of the cases you see in court that the government is losing, you will find out that the prosecution is not doing what is right because somebody prompted them to do what they're doing. They are not by themselves prompted to enforce the law under which they are operating.
Okay, now let's also, because I was having a discussion with a senior advocate of Nigeria who is also my father, my legal father. And we discussed and said, look, desperate issues also require desperate measures. Now, could it also be, I gave him the scenario, could it also be that the reason why the Nigerian judiciary, well, the prosecution, they are losing some of these cases is because we still rely on he who alleges must prove. But if we switch, if we switch the ties to say, look, young man, you have been a civil servant for the past 35 years. By virtue, your monthly salary and take-home pay should have been XYZ multiplied by the number of years. How come you have these amounts in your account, these properties, what's this in your name? Prove to us that these were gotten not from corruption proceeds. Then the onus falls on the accused to prove that he got those properties and monies legitimately. Now, if we had that scenario, don't you think we'll be doing a lot better in fighting corruption? Don't you think the Nigerian system will be a lot better? Because everybody will want to act right.
I know. What you're talking about is called punitive disgorgement.
Exactly.
Okay, in which case the onus of proof shift from inception to the accused person. Fantastic jurisprudence. But for now, we have not even exhausted. You see, you come to that style of criminal prosecution where you have diligently applied the orthodox method of establishing a crime. We have not even done that. Most of the cases are...
But it's not even giving us the result.
No, we have not done that because most of the cases get thrown out because the elementary things, you charge somebody with an offense of, say, armed robbery, then there are no ammunition. How do you want to establish that offense? You get what I'm saying? You can't charge somebody with an offense for which you have no particulars. So lawyers go to court, they are always winning these cases because all they do is to just key into your proof of evidence, and when they look at the proof of evidence, you'll be shocked. Sometimes they will say, when you reneges to do a particular thing, therefore we recommend that the case be charged to court. There's no offense that one commits by reneging on a promise. You go to a court, you find such cases, and you ask yourself, who worked on this file? How can somebody come to this conclusion? It is because the person who prepared the file does not have the workings of the law or was compromised. I have a case I'm doing recently, that is ongoing. It's a criminal trial. From the word go, we have seen where we are going. They have brought the accused person to court under a law that does not exist. Even if the judge has justice in his mind, but the law is the law. If the charge is bad, there is nothing that the court can do.
You can't arrive
in other jurisdictions, you find people saying, oh, I'm guilty, I'm guilty. because they will see the avalanche of evidence that the prosecution has
Against
them. They will show them everything, and they will say, okay, please, let me not take you through trial, I'm guilty. But in Nigeria, what you find is that it is in the course or after the arrest of the accused person that they start their investigation.
We shouldn't be.
At that point in time, all the material evidence will fly away.
That's true. Okay, I will have to pause you on that. We'll go on a quick break, and when we return, we'll take the discussions further. It's the Crossfire. Welcome back. It's still Crossfire, and I see how Barrister Julius Ayoola in the studio. Now, Barrister, before we went on that break, I mean, you were making a lot of fantastic submissions, but now I may have to take you the route of the whistleblower policy, and then I don't know why you're nodding your head, but now the Minister of Finance, Mrs. Kemi Adeosun, has said a total of 421.33 million is ready to be paid to the whistleblowers for the November batch. Now, earlier we saw stories, reports in the media saying, oh, by a highly respected individual, Professor Sagi. And then he said, as regards one of the whistleblowers who was supposed to get, certain amount, he said, no, he came out to say that, no, the monies will be paid in tranches. I mean, because having to assess the individual, if all the money was paid to him at once, he may squander it. So now Nigerians are asking questions because, all of this seems to put doubt in the hearts of Nigerians. Nigerians who ideally have some information about certain individuals, but then they're skeptical to say, why should the government tell me how I should get my money? The law is the law. I gave valid information. I should get my due.
Yes.
So, why all this happening? And then, do these individuals have any legal recourse?
Well, unfortunately, I'm not too seized of the law as far as whistleblower is concerned, or whistleblowing is concerned. I think it's a policy of the government. There is no act particularly set up.
But then there are motions to have one.
Of course. So if it's a government policy, if the whistleblower is not paid, unfortunately, there is nothing they can do as far as the law is concerned. Yes.
This is an agreement.
Look.
That's whistleblower upon providing... No.
It's an agreement.
Upon providing those informations, that whistleblower will definitely have attested to some document to say, I so.
But you see that in the news, we heard that
there is a contractual obligation between the government and the individual to say, if the informations turn out true, this is what I'll get. But if they do not turn out true, well, I do not get anything, and I cannot even enforce. Now, in this case, it has turned out to be true. So that becomes...
You also agree with me that he has been arrested severally. It's on the news. He has been arrested, detained. We had Professor Odinka Kalu, the former chair of the Human Rights Commission, coming out to speak for him. The guy has been detained about 3 or 4 police stations, detained at maybe EFCC, SFU, and some other police stations because instead of paying him his dues now, what they are doing is trying to harass him down. I don't expect the Minister of Finance to come out to tell us that the money will be paid in batches or something. That's very petty. And that's not... They are not being true to the promises they have made concerning whistleblowing. It also means that other potential whistleblowers will have to throw away their whistle because they know that, look, if I blow this whistle, I might lose my life in the process. The person who blew the first whistle has not been paid, or the payment is becoming an issue of national discourse. That is now to encourage people to give government information about criminal activities. When you say you are going to pay, you just have to make the payment. Again, it comes back to the witness protection law. If you pay him, say, for instance, the person used to be a steward in his Oga's house and he discovered this money, and you pay a steward 300 million naira. Yes. What about his security? Because the whistleblowing is at the instance of the state, and it has given the state enough information that will help the state, build the revenue drive that they are claiming that they are building. But the question is, what about the whistleblower? He ended up becoming a victim he gets the money and may not even be able to spend the money because he might lose his life in the process. Okay? The idea that they don't want to give him all the money, all at once is rooted in morality. The whistleblower is an adult.
He's
So
above 18.
you cannot become Catholic than the Pope. You can't tell him, we'll pay you this money in tranches because we don't want you to blame. If he squanders everything, so be it. It's his money. But will he get the money? That is the question. Is him getting the money and not about whether or not he's going to squander the money. It's his money. He can do whatever he likes with it.
Now, the fact that Nigerians, in this case, do not have some sort of umbrella or recourse to go to court to say, look, there is some sort of contractual binding between I and the government.
Yes.
It makes it more worrisome. Now, don't you think in this instance that the court can look into the merit of the case, even though there is no Whistleblower Protection Act per se, but then the fact that...
But don't forget that the state too can file a defense and say, yes, you blew this money, but we are investigating whether this money is a legitimate money or is money from an illicit transaction. If the money is legitimate, we can't give you anything. When you blow your whistle, is you blowing the whistle for illicit transactions.
But then if they pan out to be
they
true...
They can tell you.
If they know. So if they pan out to be true, and now those
I'm just telling you
court.
What an average, what the Nigerian thing, the Nigerian factor will start playing out. Hold on, we are investigating the money. Oh, sorry, it appears the money is not illicit money. So you have not blown the proper whistle, and that will be all. What do you want to do?
So what will not be defined here as illicit? For example, like the Ikoyi gates, monies were found in buildings. Not just the Ikoyi gates, but then the one found at Legico, the one found, various parts. Now imagine, those buildings, are they the official or legitimate places for those monies? I mean, of course, the investigation has been showing that, yes, the individual had something fraudulent. So those monies could also be proceeds. So yes, the whistleblower has some legal claim.
You don't get my point. I'm talking about this issue from a Nigerian perspective. Anything Nigerian is different from other climes. This is not a sinner society. I am telling you...
I take offense in that word.
I take it back. But look, it's a society where people who are supposed to protect you are the ones harassing you. It can't be a sane society. Maybe the word should not have been used, but I'm just saying that in a civilized society, promises made by government are kept. For me, it will be like taking the camel through the needle's eye for me to believe anything this government is saying. They have said so many things that they are not even owning up to, and they are not going to fulfill. So for me, on the whistleblowing, look, we have a long way to go. If we are serious about whistleblowing, we must pass a law. There must be an act of National Assembly giving out details or specifics on the policy. As a policy alone, it will be difficult for you to press any right on it, because they will go to court and say, oh, they can even sponsor people to go and file actions in court, that the money you saw in that place belongs to me. That money is for X, Y, Z. And they will tell the whistleblower, you have to wait because there's a litigation.
Of course.
In Nigeria,
and that may take...
In Nigeria, litigation can take 10 years. During this period,
what happened?
Anything can happen to the whistleblower. He can change his mind to say, oh, I didn't say so. I didn't even know what I said.
I'm leaving it for God.
Yes. And they ask him why you say, no problem. He can get a phone call and they will tell him, are you still holding on to that statement? He said, I didn't see the money. He will deny it. Because he knows that, look, even if I go to police to report, they will end up having me arrested. I've seen people go to report a crime to the police and they are detained. That's the kind of society we live in. So unless they have to pass a law, maybe the Whistleblowers Act, whatever name they want to give to it, they must pass a law. And that law must have provisions for protection of the whistleblower. Otherwise, you expose the whistleblower to a terrible situation, and he can lose his life in the process. So for me, the way to go on whistleblowing is to pass a law for that purpose. If there's no law for that purpose, there may be a lot of challenges in suing the federal government for the purpose of, for them performing
their own obligation.
Their contractual obligation, since we are talking about contractual obligation, for the purpose of them performing their reciprocal contractual obligation, because I have performed mine by showing you where the money is. Your duty now is to render to me what is due from the money. But like I'm telling you, there can be challenges. They would expect that if they give you 10 million naira, they are doing you a favor. You discover 100 billion naira. You want to take how much? You want to take 40 billion for what you look at your shoes, look at where you are living. My friend, take 10 million and go back to your village. What can you do? Or they will tell you, before you came to do the whistleblowing, someone else has called. It's happened in the last one. About 10 people have been brought by EFCC as whistleblowers. This guy is now being told you have to share with others because they also blew whistle. At what point did they blow their own whistle? If they blew the whistle before me, it means that I had nothing to blow.
True.
So if that is the position, they can argue over that for another 1 year. And in the course of doing that, you can commit, they will tell you have committed an offense. And our system is so terrible that when they take you to court, even if on the face of the charge you are innocent, our court will say, okay, it's not a problem, this offense is a bailable offense. We'll admit you to bail on social conditions. 2 shorty, CFO, land in Aja, Oba of Lagos. Where will you get all these things? The person go to prison and they might even die in prison. You know what I'm talking about? That's the kind of system we run. You arrest people.
You just painted a really scary scenario.
That's the true position of our society. Maybe outside Lagos, but in Lagos, as far as I know, when people are arrested, even for the simplest offenses, the conditions for bail, because they are presumed innocent until proven guilty. Now, their conditions for bail is so terrible that sometimes they are already guilty because if I don't have people who are working in public employment or private employment, where will I get tax clearance from? If my shorty will need a tax clearance, where will I get it from? If my shorty will need CFO, my father does not have a house. So where will I get the CFO from? What you do is that having charged me to court, you also expose me to corruption. So I end up having to rent someone at a fee.
Yes.
That's the kind of country we run. So unless you pass a law, there must be a law, the Whistleblowers Act, that will encourage people to do whistleblowing. Unless you do that, we can't go far with whistleblowing. I don't see anybody blowing any whistle again. Because everybody has seen what is happening to this last whistleblower. I mean, it's quite pathetic.
Wow. Okay, well, we'll see how that develops, and then we hope the Nigerian Senate can rise up to its responsibilities in that regard. Now, what's trending right now in the world is the Libyan story. Now, December 2nd yearly marks the celebration of the international abolition of slavery. Now, unfortunately, it seems in modern times, slavery has not quite been eradicated because there have been, proven, that various forms of slavery do, exist, especially in Nigeria, either in the workplace or even, workplace and then various other forms. Now, the Libyan issue really is sad, really is pathetic. But now, the National Emergency Management Agency came out and said a total of 1,295 Nigerians voluntarily returned. Now, this is not to say that there are so many of them still out there in Libya, no hopes of returning. Some of them already sold in slavery. But now the issue is, what exactly has the Nigerian government been doing all this while? Because before now, a lot of Nigerians have been repatriated from Libya back to Nigeria. Now the question is, were these individuals, were they not questioned? Did the government or the necessary agency, did they get certain informations concerning their well-being over there to take action? The African Union has been sleeping about it. It took the CNN to release that, to go into investigative journalism and release that video for the whole world to speak. On the part of the government, are they really doing anything to secure and ensure that Nigerians, home and abroad, have a better life?
Well, government is doing the best it can. As at yesterday, some people came into Nigeria about, I think, almost 500 or more. The government is responding swiftly for me, because sometimes you don't take the news on social media for its social media value.
True.
You want to be sure it is true. I think they are getting to understand that this is a true situation in Libya. Not only Nigerians, other black people from other countries in Africa are being involved in the slave trade. But Libya is too far, and Libya issue is one of international law. Let us talk about slavery within. There is slavery within.
Very true.
Do you know that in Lagos State, for instance, even with the laws passed by the states, I know Lagos State passed a law against, domestic maids who are not of age.
Who are below 18 years?
Yes, who are not of age. Of age means anybody from 18 years
18
old.
and above.
But I can tell you for real that if you go around Lagos State, particularly in the areas occupied by the elite, you will find that in each of the houses, there is one dirty girl or boy of 13, 14 living with those people. And you ask yourself, what is that person doing there? At the end of the day, it's a domestic servant. Whatever is due to that boy is not even paid to the boy.
Directly, yes.
It's paid to some agents. There are people whose job in Lagos State is to fetch you house helps. And they are living they are living big. They drive the best cars. What do? Oh, you need house help. How many? 4. Okay. French speaking or English speaking. If you say French speaking, then you should expect him from Cotonou or from Togo. If you say English speaking, then you should be looking towards Akwa Ibom, River State, or some states in the southeast. There is slavery within Nigeria, and unless we tackle the slavery within, we can't be talking about slavery that's outside. What motivated them to leave Nigeria in the first place is because there is no provision that will accommodate their energy. Have you seen anybody in Libya who is 50 years old? Anybody you find in Libya is 45 years down. They have the energy to work in their country, but there is no work. So what they do is that they approach Libya thinking from Libya they can get to maybe Italy or Spain, because they are told. Those who traffic them will tell them with some terrible maps to say, look, from here, from Niger, you get to Agadez, from Agadez, you get to Tamaracet. When they tell you these things in paper, a poverty mind will believe anything. But if our society makes the simplest provision of social infrastructures, why would anybody want to go to Libya? Libya is going through serious crisis at the moment. Even Libyans themselves are not enjoying Libya, let alone people who are coming from the other countries. Okay? But in Nigeria, sometimes you say to yourself, Ibi patria. Wherever it is good for me, it's my fatherland. In Nigeria, people can hardly feed. Even those you see working in some places, they are old salaries. Of course, government owed salaries in some places, 18 months. Yesterday, the Nigerian Union of Teachers, Lagos State branch, they went as far as Lausa, campaigning that, please remove us from local government's payroll, pay us directly. I'm talking about the primary school teachers. Some of them are owed 18 months salary. Some are 22 months. These people have families. They have people who depend on them, and you don't pay them their salaries. How do you want them to survive? So they have no choice than to start thinking of going out of Nigeria. And because they don't have the sufficient means to go out of Nigeria, they go out of Nigeria in an illegal fashion. When they get to Niger, the Nigerian immigration at that point does not even offer advisory services. I've been to Rwanda. I got there around 2 a.m. and I'm going to somewhere in Yarataraoge or something. And I was told, oh, that place is far. Why don't you just wait till morning so that the taxi can ferry? Nigerian immigration at the borders are terrible people. I'm saying this, and I can say it categorically, I've experienced it before. There is no advisory services. What's the Nigerian going to do, for instance, in Niger or Chad? What employment opportunities do you have in those places? These immigration officers know from day one that they are not going to Niger or Chad.
No, we have it.
They are going to Algeria through the desert.
Through the desert.
There must be advisory services for people who are traveling through our land borders. You must be able to ask them reasonable questions. And from their appearance, you will know that they are not properly guided. You can arrest them, not to have them detained. But
for deportation purposes.
But to prevent them from a terrible peril, from peril. Because they can even die in the desert. Do you know the number of people who die in the desert from Agadez to Tamaracet?
No, because we have less than a minute to round up. Now, how do we address slavery within? The issue also, which has also resulted to domestic violence, particularly against these innocent, helpless individuals.
The only way to address slavery within is that we must help government by reporting people who are keeping slaves in their house. If your house help is under 18 years old, you are involved in slave trade. And there is no way the governor,
Aiding and abetting.
let's be frank, Alausa is too far from anybody. The people in Alausa are not angels. They cannot fly from Alausa to all the houses and say, do you have house? It may not be convenient for them to do, but as neighbors, we are all religious people. Your neighbor has somebody 13 years in his house. You will know a house help when you see one. They're always looking terrible and smelling. Once you enter, you will know, oh, this must be the house help. We should report. The Lagos State government should create a portal.
No, there are toll-free numbers.
If there are toll-free numbers, people don't know about them. People who will report these incidences are not people living in Lekki or VI.
Okay, so we promise, the Crossfire team promises that we'll make available some of these toll-free numbers. So if you're living, and we'll try and get some of the toll-free numbers across the 36 states, as many as we can lay our hands on. We'll give that to you next week. Thank you so much for being a part of the program today. We really cannot thank you enough. Thank you so much, Barr Julius.